Gotcha. I love the fact that we're talking about children's health even in utero from this stage on. So, for example, like my daughter was 5 pounds and 12 ounces, and you know, she's just on the short side, but at the same time, I'm very careful as to what I feed her now, even though she's 1 year old, about fruits and vegetables.
Important. You know, I can't tell you how important it really is to sort of train your child from an early age on what are some healthy options for them to actually be consuming. Right. You know, we have evolved, right? And if you look at from an anthropological perspective, you know, humans have a very high tendency to like salt and sweet. Right. We were born with that. Exactly. And you know, interestingly enough, when we look at the components of breast milk, it is both salty and sweet. And so, you know, that's what makes, you know, in addition to all the other important growth factors and immunoglobulins that exist in breast milk, as one of breast milk being the most ideal, you know, sort of first food for an infant. But then when we start weaning an infant and introducing them to foods and beverages, you know, we need to be very careful with how we actually introduce those foods, because you really don't want your child to start consuming foods that are unhealthy for them at a very young age. That's true. I was part of a research study that was conducted that looked at what infants and toddlers are consuming in the United States. And it was done in the year 2008. An earlier version of this study that was done in about 2002 showed that infants were getting fed French fries. They were actually, in the first year of life, between 9 and 12 months, they were actually consuming similar foods as an adult would, but in smaller portions. So that means it's high in fat, it's high in salt, and it's high in sugar. There is no reason that an infant should be consuming those foods.
So was I a bad mommy to do sweet potato fries with her this past month?
Well, you know.
It was sweet potato fries.
Yeah, it depends.
They were baked.
If they're baked, that's a good thing.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, all right.
Hopefully you didn't put a lot of salt on it.
I didn't. No salt at all.
You know, but it's really sort of understanding that, you know, kids don't need salt and sugar in huge amounts. You know, children's stomach capacities are very small, and so in order for them to get the number of calories that they need to grow healthy, you really need to be wise on your choices of food to feed them. And if you feed them very not nutrient, but energy dense foods, have a high calories for the grams of food that exist, well then their stomachs are going to get filled up, and they're not going to get those vitamins and minerals that they really need in order to grow well.
And Anna Maria, I have to ask you, does milk really do your body good?
Does what really?
Milk really do your body good?
Milk does do your body good. Okay. Milk is very important, and you know.
Because I have her on almond milk.
Well, you might really want to think about regular milk.
And hemp and rice. And flaxseed milk. I'm trying to stay away from cows, so.
Well, I mean, is there a reason why you're trying to stay away from cows? Is there allergies
the whole
in your family?
Yeah, the whole casein allergy that I don't want her to.
Well, unless there's really, you know, the research studies have shown that unless your family has a history of allergies, there really is no reason for you to withhold any food.
And mommy's lactose, so.
Yes, but
it's
we
hard
all
for her to
develop
digest.
some form of lactose intolerance as we get older to some degree. It depends on how much exposure you have and, you know, your cultural upbringing onto, you know, your consumption of those kind of lactose foods. But really, I think to some degree, there's not enough evidence to substantiate withholding cow's milk unless there is an allergy in the family.
Gotcha.
You know, but the reason why milk is so important is that calcium and vitamin D, you know, and the children need that. We need calcium as individuals up until the age of mid-20s. You know, I think there's a myth that you're only supposed to have a lot of calcium sources when you're a child, but the reality is you're actually laying down bone mineral density well into your 20s.
Right, and I do know thank the Lord there's calcium in bok choy and broccoli and kale, and she literally does eat that stuff. So
it's harder to absorb. I mean,
gotcha.
It's true that these sources, the green leafy vegetables, are really good sources, and they're also good sources of folic acid.
Absolutely.
And those are great sources, but when you think about the amount of calcium you can get in a serving, you'll always get more calcium in
Gotcha.
a glass of milk.
Okay, just a concerned parent, that's why I wanted to ask you those questions, and I know they're concerned parents, absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I want to take it from this point of our conversation into